the third time I tried to make a video about Aaron Cluney's Magical Fury. OJ Simpson said, okay, Aaron Cluney, independent TTRPG content creator, a unique voice, a unique personality. I wouldn't call him a controversial figure, but he's an interesting person. People who have heard about him definitely have opinions. I picked up his material. I have always been a fan of Japanese culture. I remember when anime was called Japanimation, the age of Voltron and Robotech. So it was an easy thing for me to decide to pick up the work of Aaron Cluney back when I thought his name was Ewen Cluney, which is what many people think until they open it up and he puts you straight. It's a his parents named him Aaron, though I believe it's like an Irish or Celtic derivation of the name. Um, my understanding of his biography is that I believe that he must have spent some time in Japan. I believe he's um, currently back on American soil. I believe that he spent some time in Japan. It's my understanding that he's very fluent in Japanese because one of his claims to fame is that he was the translator of the Maid RPG, MAID, where you indeed play as a various incarnations of a maid. Make of that what you will. He After that, I would gather that many people may have seen the review of a substantial work that he's done called Kagagami High. I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly, which by volume I believe is his largest work. The work that I'm going to be looking at today is this piece called Magical Fury and its supplement Magical Fury Apocrypha. That's more of like a zine type RPG, a small derivation on the Powered by the Apocalypse kind of rule set, and we'll get into it. Um, he does not make works as a TTRPG author that are designed or aimed for everybody. Um, this is not an OSR D&D clone. This is and that's why I wanted to review it. Um, he makes works really primarily, I think you could say, for himself, and therefore he has a unique voice, and it's not going to be for everybody, and it may inadvertently, as we have discovered in my attempts to cover this, be controversial to some. Though I don't really feel like there's a need to have that be the case. Like I said, it's a Powered by the Apocalypse style game. And insofar as that is the case, there may be some in the TTRPG community that may not even regard it as a proper role playing game at all, and may think that it more properly should be defined as a storytelling game. Um, I think that that's probably kind of like a non-debate. It is what it is, and as we go through it, and as I provide this overview and review, you can make your own decision whether or not it's something that you'd be interested in, interested in looking at, and I'll kind of, give you my perspective. A forecast of my perspective is this: is that um, I think that it's very affordable, and at the price point that it's available at, it is worth exploring and worth looking at, because even if it's not something that you yourself or your role playing group are going to be interested in playing yourselves, it's it's not gonna hurt you to see it. It's not gonna hurt you to expose yourself to a unique voice, a unique indie voice, and it might very well give you just, it might be a resource. And um, well, let's get right into it. And also, like I said, he is a unique author, and it's I titled this video "Magical Fury RPG: An Introduction to the Works of Ewen Cluney," because Ewen Cluney, his writing, I've several of his works, and there are certain things that I call Cluneyisms, idiosyncratic aspects of. It's funny. I know his name is Aaron, but I can't help but keep on switching into this, what the pronunciation that keeps on jumping out. Aaron uh, has very there are things that are like leitmotifs to Aaron's style and Aaron's style of game design. Certain things that seem to be tropes that he keeps on returning to, that are very unique, um, and things that people might find weird. But I find the weird awesome and enticing. Like a John Waters non-actor actor. Um, Aaron's insistence on certain weird things, I find endearing. And like, what I'm going to tell you is this: is as a forecast, is that whether or not it's something that you play, I think that this little booklet can be an invaluable resource to anybody who, even if whether you're a writer of fiction, or whether or not you're just looking for a resource to create interesting NPC ideas, or different story seed ideas, or monster ideas. These two little booklets, and the random tables are in and of themselves a Cluneyism. Uh, are great, because they're not your standard fare. They don't contain the same, D100 items that you're going to find in a ye old tavern. Um, it's good stuff. It's entertaining stuff, possibly, depending on what you're looking for. Certainly, they'd be invaluable resources to someone who was looking to do something in an anime context, in a cyberpunk, Neo Tokyo, anything in Japan, certainly, but absolutely anything of a fantasy concept. Magical Fury, a magical girl RPG. Magical girl, what are we talking about? We're talking about the thing that I keep on returning to, because I think it's generational, is it's Sailor Moon, right? You're a normal gal, and then all of a sudden you're magical. And the first thing that I gotta let you know is, rules is written. It's a magical girl RPG, okay? And we're gonna get into that. The first thing is that, just look at the table of contents. I could tell you something. Normal girls. the normal world into a magical world, becoming magical girls. This is not Morkborg. This is a fantasy anime setting. Okay. The mentions are of characters can die. You know, you can go dark with it if you want to, but we are in that sort of headspace. Um, and what this game is about is let's start with the introduction. You thought the world was normal, a place without magic. You wished there was magic, ways to make your dreams come true, but deep down you knew those things were just fancies. Then there comes a moment when everything changes, and magic is all too real. For whatever reason, only girls can use magic. Only girls whose fate has chosen, who have endured it through countless lives. Magic is powerful and beautiful, and that is why the world hates it. Magic is so powerful that little from the mundane world can stand up to it. Magical girls are reborn again and again across multiple lifetimes. This is a role playing game where you pretend to be magical girls. Girls, kind of like something out of an anime and kind of not. You can play blah 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 blah. That tells you about preparations, and it's a role playing game. But here, your characters don't necessarily have to be girls at the start of the game. Your characters can be older, male, or something else if you like. They will become a girl when their magical potential activates, and it will probably make their lives quite a bit more complicated. Now that's a Cluneyism. Okay. Now, for what it's worth, looking at Aaron's blog, which I provided in the link below, I love this. No judgments. He is, as I understand it, arrow, like aromantic, but this is. I caught some. I got like the live chat, whatever. Don't worry about it. But I dig it. But this is like, here we're gonna have my John Waters moment, editing in camera. I don't do any editing. Here's my Cluneyism moment. My this is not me making fun. This is me talking about. This is me like cinema verite, Cluneyism moment. Hold on, I'm talking about underlying this. What we just underlined with this whole. You're a magical girl. You can be whatever you want at the beginning, but rules is written. This is you're gonna turn into a girl. Here, watch this. Watch this. Share screen. Here we go.
Look, this is just an informal chat. We were wondering what you were working on in your lab.
Well, I've invented a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends.
Right, and what's positive about that?
Well, it's a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends.
Well, could it also give worms to ex-boyfriends?
This is a drug for the world to give worms to ex-girlfriends.
Well, great. Thanks for stopping by.
You just don't get it here.
And scene. Right, that was a clip from the classic Kids in the Hall movie, Brain Candy. Okay, and I love it, and I'm here for it. Rules is written, right? Aaron Cluney could have made Magical Fury RPG, right? A magical person RPG where you play as whomever that turns into a magical person. No, right? You're gonna turn into and I'm gonna tell you something. Everything that Aaron Cluney does, from Kagagami High to the Schoolgirl RPG, everything we are. I'm gonna tell you, we're like, you know what I mean? It's like I just, you have visions of like me and other 40-year-old dudes around a table turning into and pretending to be, Sailor Moon and Jupiter Moon and whatever, and turning and pretending to be chicks in high school. And it's like, and I think that and it's like, are you man enough to play Magical Fury RPG? And I think that that's just the best. But I just love this insistence on, you know what I mean? It's a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends. It's a game where and it's like, it's the underlining. You turn into, you could start off as a guy, you could start off as an older person, but when you transform, you're turning into a magical girl. It's a powered by the apocalypse system. And how do those systems work? And it's a simplified version of it. And if you don't know about powered by the apocalypse systems, it's not a stat driven system like other RPGs you might be used to, like Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, Pathfinder, whatever. It's a 2d6 system, but in an unusual way. It's, you roll 2d6, you add those dice results together, giving you a number between 2 and 12, and depending on the results here, you get one of three outcomes: either a failure, getting a 2 to 5, you get a failure; 6 to 8, partial success; 9 plus, full success. And depending on what's going on, depending on certain contexts, there's more instructions as to what more direction, though slight, more specific direction on what those results are going to be. But I should tell you that unless you're an experienced RPG player, there's not a lot of specificity to the system. It is a narrative system, and given the brevity of the pamphlet, half of which is just tables, you're going to be out there. This wouldn't be one, you wouldn't want this to be the first system, that you run. This is something that you'd want to, know what you're doing and be kind of, you and the other players at your table, whether you're the GM or the DM, even the players, you'd want people that are confident in their ability to be improvisers and go with the flow, because the game, the materials themselves don't give you a whole heck of a lot of guidance and instruction as to, this happens if you get this die result. It points you in the direction, but it's a narrative instruction open to interpretation. The way the game really works, the mechanic is really a narrative mechanic, because the moves, the die results and the moves really just move things along these points and shifts. Your characters, your magical girls, don't have stats, and the development of them, they don't level up. What happens, how things develop, really has to do with how these elements of hope, trauma, and magic get moved around, either through the result of having points taken away as the result of people helping each other by being friendly to each other and healing each other, or by having negative outcomes kind of mount on them and having, traumatic things happen to them. If we look at the character sheet at the back, you see that hope, magic, and trauma. Magic is kind of a middle ground. Trauma is trauma, and hope is a good thing. Every time the rules kind of indicate that you should suffer a point of hope, magic, or trauma, you'll fill in one of these bubbles, right? Like on an SAT. When all of these points have been filled in, You'll erase them, but you'll experience one of these shifts. And each one of these categories have four things that can happen. If you have three bubbles of hope filled in, you'll erase them, but you'll experience one of these four things of great things, like you'll have a new friend, you get a lucky break that gets you closer to your goal, whatever that may be, based on the narrative of the campaign. And once those four things happen, then you'll have one of these like kind of mega shifts that occur, an extreme shift. An extreme shift, there's these extreme shifts only happen. The extreme shift category applies to both the magic and the trauma category. The great hope is for just the hope category. And like I said, these are all narrative things that happen. They're not really, kind of mechanical things that happen. And I got to tell you something. When I was looking at this game, the thing that jumped out to me was, number one, while I didn't imagine it as something that I would play with other people, the things that jumped out to me was that this would be something that would be good for someone who wanted to write a lit RPG book. That if you ran through the game from starting the game, creating one of these characters, number one, all of these things from starting the game, picking your name, what does the being a girl mean to you, what are you afraid of, what is your wish, all of these things narratively also work into the development of the story as the story beats go along, can also be rolled on, and tables are provided for girls' names, hopes and wishes, even the elements of the world. So if you were stuck on ideas, I likened it to you could be your own AI story generator just by using this book. At least it could get you started. And like I said, you could also use that to be develop NPCs, at the least. Um, and it is what it is. It may be your cup of tea. It may not be your cup of tea. The book as it's written, also another thing that I found that I liked about it, and I likened it onto the work of Noah Patterson, and what I liked about Noah Patterson's micro chatbook RPG stuff is like what people often praise about the old Super NES game Super Metroid, is that it's it's like a tutorial level of a game that you're not even aware of the fact is a tutorial level. From page 1 all the way to page 23, from the creation of the magical girls on through the creation of the normal world to the creation of the magical world, which is the next step towards things going from normal to magical to the onset of a threat. And it tells you through the development how a threat would be related to the elements of the girls' personas, their wishes, their hopes, and their fears, to the elements of becoming a magical girl, and how that could be either a positive, or you roll to determine whether that was a traumatic reaction element, or whether or not that was a good transformational story, whether that was went smoothly, or whether it was like I said, traumatic. And it gives indications about whether and how that would affect you moving forward in the story, beat by beat, scene by scene. It leads you through that. And that's interesting to me. It's and like I said, in all these things, you can either pick how your magical girl persona is, what what changes and transformations occur, or you can roll for them randomly. Um, Themes, example, magical names, like I said, all of these things can be rolled for. A transformed magical girl can attack enemies with her magical weapon or wand or other implement, or with a burst of energy, leap superhuman distances, withstand incredibly powerful attacks, magical or otherwise, manifest secondary effects based on the theme of her magic, muster a more powerful finishing attack with great effort. So you see, this is not about having a magical system or a set of rules that lays out a finite amount of powers or delineates this power has 2d6 damage effect. It's all narrative, right? It's all about just letting you know you're magic and you can do magical things. And it's all about rolling these 2d6 and figuring out whether or not the thing that you attempted to do failed or to what degree it was successful or unsuccessful. Going along that Super Metroid narrative tutorial level kind of thing that I was telling you about, you go on to your first battle with the first encounter of a big bad. It tells you about how you can, increase or decrease the difficulty of that depending on whether or not you have a larger or shorter, smaller party. It tells you about how the die rolls can be interpreted, whether or not you're going on the offensive, whether it's an attack, whether you're defending you yourself or a member of the party, whether you're trying to escape. And then there's a demonstration of how you would calculate whether or not the battle was, what the results of the battle were. And like I said, if you were doing an offensive maneuver, you're going to just basically tabulate based on whether or not each individual girl scored big time, failed in their attack, or whatever. You're just going to determine whether or not there was X number of hits. If there was a big success, that was 2 hits. If minor success was 1 hit. And then based on the number of participants, you would do this calculation, whether it was 0 hits, minus 2 hits, depending. Like, so if you had 3 members of a 3-member team, and they only scored, uh, 4 hits, then that's like -1 hits or whatever. So you do this, you compare it to see, if it's a moderate success or low success. It tells you about whether or not that would result in people suffering points of trauma or magic that they would have to fill in, the bubbles on their little character sheet. And that would tell you about whether or not there's collateral damage, whether or not there's damage to the community, whether or not, knock down Claretta's, bird bath, or whether or not, someone, chiefed it or whatever, whether or not you killed somebody. And, you could narratively describe the results as is. And then you move on. The story continues. Tells you about the GM moves, which is just basically you go round robin around the table. Everyone makes a move. When it comes time for the GM to make a move, they either advance a threat or whatever. And it's very simple. It determines the types of actions that people can do, which are very simple. Again, it's fundamental to the story, just as it's fundamental to the mechanic, that the premise of the game, that everyone plays as a magical girl. It's fundamental to the premise of the game that part of being a magical girl has to do with the fact that your magical girl persona has something to do with a past life. So there's an investigation of your past life, search. And like I said, you're going to have to read the book yourself and determine whether or not what kind of, prep work you're going to have to do as far as being prepared with, having ready-made answers to some of these questions, I guess, about what people's past lives were, what's going on. Tells you how to help people with kindness, being a friend. And like I said, it is what it is. This might be for some people, and some people might look at this stuff and say, this is a game for magical fruits. God has blessed those people. I mean, look, this world is made up of different people who want to do different things. I think, though it's not, sold as such and not, played out as such, that this is a game that I could play not with other people, but like I said, it could be a narrative game to either write a story or write a screenplay or write a book or write it as a journaling game. You know, it describes, trauma shifts, and here you have the shifts and the build things for building the world. It's a sketch of a game, especially the original work itself. As in and of itself, what I enjoyed about Magical Fury was this. It was interesting. It was one of the first. I got it off Amazon when I first started getting back into looking for TTRPG materials that wasn't me just getting books that were Advanced Dungeon and Dragon books that I didn't have, or Palladium books that I knew from my youth but didn't own, right? That was just like, oh, I'm getting back into TTRPGs. What else is out there? And it was so, it was like, it's one of these like print on demand books that is sold at a price point that it's like, it's a couple of bucks. Like, why not get it? And based on its size, you can throw it in your, backpack. You can keep it, as a bathroom book in the crapper. And I may have read this book like 10 times. And you could just like keep it next to you on the TV table, and you can just roll on these random tables, till the cows come home and have a heck of a time. And I dig it. I mean, I like Aaron Cluney. I like weird stuff, and I like, you know what I mean. I like weirdos. I'm a weirdo. I want, you know what I mean. At 48 years old, I'm still waiting for the gnome to, knock on my window and take me away to join the circus. So, Aaron, no, okay. Well, Aaron, no, 3 times the charm. Aaron. Okay, maybe one of these days. Noah hasn't returned my calls. Noah Patterson. I may have burned that bridge. It is what it is. It is the original work itself. Oh, shit. This book is 10 years old. I mean, this book isn't 10 years old. It's print on demand. I mean, it's like, but look, it's got a copyright of 2015. I turned 40 in 2015. That's 10 years ago. No, it's 9 years ago, but it's going to be 10 years ago next year. And whatchamacallit, I started my first YouTube channel, link in the description below, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. But can you believe that? If you're going to get this book, I would definitely recommend getting the Magical Fury Apocrypha thing as well, because it has, which came out 5 years after. It is basically a print on demand version, I guess, of 2 PDFs for the game, and it's got sample magical girls ready to go, and it's got so many more things. It's got new moves, it's like powered by the apocalypse, language, that if you're an inexperienced DM or whatever, it's more things that you can do with, more indications of what, the die results can be interpreted, so you don't have to just wing everything on your own. It's got this overdrive mechanic. It's got, a disability table that you can roll on for this game or something else, any other game you want to do. It's got different character options, like bond tables that you can roll on to create bonds between different characters. But more than anything else, why I say it's a must-have for the system is the costume appearances table. The original book itself will just kind of give you, like, even if you roll randomly, just kind of tells you the color. I have no fashion sense, despite the fact that my father thought I was a quote-unquote sea sucker. Thanks, Dad. I love you. And I forgive you in rich Jew heaven, where hopefully I will meet you one day. Because there are things you still have to hear. No, I kid. I forgive you, and I'm processing. But When I meet my Father in rich Jew heaven, I will meet him and I will be wearing, I'm going there. I'm not gay. I am orientation queer. And that does not mean, Sam, that I am queer. It means that I am orientation queer, which means I am queer to queer. And if you do not know what that means, it means you do not know what that means, and that is fine. We roll first for whether it's extravagant, fanciful, girly, incongruous, questionable, or mythical. Oh, what is that? Okay, here we go. So first two, fanciful. I never consider myself fanciful. I have the fashion sense of a fat Jew. Oh, I need to designate. I need two different colors because I need one of these to be the ones and one of these to be the twos, right? And one of these to be the tens. Shit. This is part of why we turned off the live chat. Don't take it personal. It's okay. I needed to designate which one was going to be the ones. This one is going to be the ones, and this one's going to be the other one. Okay, so here we go. What were we? Fanciful? Dad, when I meet you, I love you and I forgive you, which is not easy. People who know my backstory know that this is not easy. 66. I'm going to meet you in a fanciful winter coat. You don't deserve to get off that easy, but I accept the roll of the dice. Damn it! You son of a bitch. Anyway, I shouldn't say that, Bubby. I apologize. You are not a bitch. I love you. You know what? Sell me a coat with buttons of silver. Sell me a coat because I feel cold. You can also get, I also get costume accessories and motifs. Anyway, you get the point. Magical weapons. You do not have magical weapon table. I don't believe in the original Magical Fury. Let me check that. I don't want to lie on Cluney. Aaron Cluney. Yeah, I don't think there's like let's see. Let's go to the tables. Here we go. The magical name, the shifts, unnatural features, environmental changes, past life actions. Where's the table where we figure out why Noah Patterson wants to die? We don't need to wonder about that. It's because I lit him on fire because I couldn't figure out Yeah, there's no magical weapons here. So absolutely get this one. Ooh, the Tsukami also here. This is like your like Toto or whatchamacallit, the Sailor Moon's like the Black Cat or Sabrina the Teenage Witches like black. It's like your animal companion buddy. So you can figure out the base appearance, the odd physical trait. This is like great. You know what I mean? And the Yuma are the monsters. The Yuma are just basically described in Magical Fury, like it's just a sketch. But here you have all these things for actually drawing them up. This book, like even if you weren't interested in the system, this book is great if you want to add like if you had this and if you play Morkborg or whatever, just the additional details that it can give you for monsters or whatever. It's fantastic. The Yuma magical themes, yada yada. Random Yuma. This is just like descriptions. This is just descriptive text, but it's great. It's great. Really, really. Here's just some places, and like I said, it's all narrative. But like I said, both of these books with the tables and just the sketches. If you're a DM that needs some extra stuff just in case, right? To be able to pull from in a pinch. This is stuff that's there if you want something that can supplement your usual assortment of standard issue like I said, D100 things you find in a ye old tavern, you know, D66 collection of, rusty short swords that do D6 damage. Sample magical girls, again, all narrative, but it can give you an indication or give you a start to, what it is. And it is what it is. For the stuff that you can find that's available in the print on demand space. Oh, here we go. Secrets, as I was saying, like, needing stuff that'll be available for answers to the questions of what is going on with this world. What are the answers to the question of you roll on you roll the 2d6 to figure out whether or not you figured out what's going on here in your magical quest for answers of why everyone's turning into magical girls all over the place. Mankind is beyond redemption and will destroy itself. The astral plane is where Yuma originate from, but there's also something else in its depths, a shining place. It's just idea food, potentially. And like I said, even if it's not something that you end up using, it can be stuff that you can end up enjoying just reading. Because of all the stuff that's out there in the TTRPG space, Aaron Cluney is not writing yet another OSR dungeon crawl. It may not exactly be your cup of tea that you want to drink again and again, but you'll at least be able to say you drank a cup of tea that wasn't the same old Earl Grey. And another thing that I can tell you is that much like the microchapbook RPG work of Noah Patterson, it's very understandable in the sense that if you have ideas about a world that you wanted to see in a TTRPG, but you were feeling daunted about how to do it because your experience with TTRPGs was Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition or Pathfinder 2nd edition. It might be the case that the first time you read Magical Fury, you don't get it. But by the third time that you read it, you're going to get it 100%. And though you might have zero interest, right, in playing a world that gives worms to ex-girlfriends, a world where you turn into a magical girl, you're going to be able to know and understand how you can find and replace magical girl and put in cyber hacker and take out the D66 tables that are, magical frou-frou friends of sailor panty liner and put in, whatever it is you need for your thing that you're trying to achieve. It's a hackable system. That was my experience. That's my review. Finally, thank you so much for watching this video. if you end up being one of the people that end up watching this video. I can't get enough of it. Aaron Cluney is fantastic, and I really love this element of it's a pill that gives worms that it is, where Aaron Cluney could have easily, it would have been in many respects easier to have written a magical RPG, a magical world RPG. It is a magical girl RPG where you turn into a magical girl, and where at every opportunity it is explicitly emphasized that it is a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends, right? If you know, you know. And it continues from Kagegami High at L. It moves forward. And if we get an opportunity to revisit to go back and see Kagegami High, once I finish it, we'll do that at some point. Which is a humorous role-playing game about Japanese schoolgirls. Hey, can you play as a schoolboy? Guess what? Spoiler alert. No, you cannot. You could be a schoolgirl with a penis. But Kagehame High is a school for girls. And if you think that says something about Aaron Cluney, I said it in one or more of the aborted videos. Hey, you want to cancel Japan? Go for it. And while you're at it, you can shut down the art museums. You can go ahead and cancel Germany. Oh, and by the way, you'll end up canceling yourself. Trust me. Somewhere along the line, everybody's weird to somebody. And God bless the strange. Aaron Cluney hasn't updated his blog, it seems like, in about a year. So I don't know what he's up to lately. I don't know what his latest release has been. If it's been a while, that's a shame. From the 2003 Egyptian Tarot, through the sands of time, we reach back and pull, oh ho ho, the Ace of Wands, the root of the suit of the primal energy of creativity. We might be figuring it out. Folks, in the description box below, you will also see the link to my Patreon. The last Patreon video I did, I made a very interesting tarot card read and made some predictions. Ironically, if you were here for the last two videos on this channel that have gone scenes missing, well, check out my next. You can join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can, of course, give more, but for as little as $1 a month, you can join my Patreon. I'll definitely have some interesting things to say regarding my tarot card pull from last session. I don't mean any disrespect by that. Anyway, just call me Blackie Lawless because I don't need no doctor. I love you. I love you. I love you. If nobody told you they loved you, someone just did. That somebody is Aaron Cluney. No, I'm kidding. I won't speak for him. I speak for myself. CW Chanter. I'm no longer on Twitter because I have more intelligence than to hang out on a sinking ship. But you can always send me an email. You just put in at gmail.com at the tail end of that CW Chanter. c.w.chanter at gmail.com. Send me an email. Go and just call me Huey Lewis in the news because we're going back in time. Catch you. Catch you around, folks. I love you. I love you. I love you.